welcome, Red Eyes members. Thank you very much for tuning in, and nice to have you here with us. We are obviously continuing our very interesting conversation with Aaron Franz. We are talking about his film, The Age of Transitions. We're talking about transhumanism, technology, genetic manipulation, and everything that the future potentially is holding for the human race. And we're also talking about this from a philosophical standpoint or viewpoint of if we should go there, if it's even going to be possible, and what some of the nightmare scenarios might be if we actually go into this. And to continue a little bit on that theme and talking about some of the people basically that are striving for this type of technology and those who are pushing it. We know that the military obviously has a huge interest in this for the purpose of creating, super soldiers and whatnot. This is a huge area, and they are pouring in millions into these different fields. So we know that there is a kind of a militaristic mindset behind this, so to speak, in that sense. But there's some other people around there. And I want to ask you, Aaron, if you've been able to, pick up on something of this, of the nature of the mindset of the people who are pushing this. If you will, have you been able to kind of get a psychological profile on some of these guys, or is it, just weirdos that are, up to no good? What do you think?
Well, it works on all levels. It's the compartmentalization that we hear about all the time when you're talking about. It's a hierarchy. You've got this overarching goal of creating this technological society, and then to actually implement it, it requires a lot of people to be working on all different specializations, like we say, the various areas of technology that come together for the singularity. Well, you've got thousands of scientists working on this, and most of which are paid by the state. I mean, these are either government or private characters, many times getting grants from the state to develop this. And when you talk about the individual technicians, the scientists, I don't think that they have any malevolent intentions usually. They honestly think that, science is good. What we're doing is going to make a better world. They don't think, even if they know about the problems this causes with civil liberties, they sort of brush it off as, civil liberties aren't important when it comes to instituting this wonderful golden age. That usurps importance over preserving personal liberty. So we're not doing anything wrong. See, we're making a better world, a scientific world, and they are the technocrats. See, as the intelligent scientists, they have the right to make this world because it's going to end up being better in their mind. But they're not seeing it from the overall picture of how everybody's freedom isn't going to even exist. There's going to be no such thing.
Yes.
In my point of view.
Yes. Everything is going to be open, right? And no one's going to have any secrets anymore, and everyone is going to know everything about everyone.
No privacy.
Yeah, exactly. And it also seems to be, I want to return a little bit to what you mentioned at the end of the first segment, where we talked about the male, the creative aspect to all of this. And because this is a very interesting theme that opens up when you begin to study this, because in many cases you don't see many actually women within this field. If we talk about some of the poster boys, if you will, for this particular movement, we've mentioned a few names, but Ray Kurzweil, J. Craig Venter, Aubrey de Grey, we have Nick Bostrom, Anders Sandberg, and also Kevin Warwick, and there's not many females in this movement. And what do you think that is? Is this a male thing primarily? About the we've made this short film called Longevity and the Grail a while back, and we speculated a little bit that this has to do with on one level, what do you call it? This is basically these guys are jealous about the creative aspect of the female. What do you think about that, Aaron?
Well, that's an interesting concept to go into there. When you say there are no females that are sort of prominent in here, there's one that I can think of. Her name is Natasha Vita Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting name right there. Vita Moore. It means you got Vita, which is like vitality, and her last name being Moore, so she's more vital. See, she's this post-human ideal. And you look at her, she's like a female bodybuilder. So she's got the physique of a male.
Right.
So you've got this one female in there with the rest of these guys, and it's basically this androgynous sort of person that blurs the line between male and female. When you start talking about that stuff, you're talking about godhood again, because godhood, you see the gods throughout the world are androgynous, because as I said before, God is creates without bringing the two sexes together, because it's kind of both in a way. It's an androgyne.
Yes, that's very interesting, and I quickly just went to her basically bio on Wikipedia, and I remember seeing her name popping up now that you mention it, and that is very interesting. And also from the viewpoint of if we talk about Ray Kurzweil, for instance, he has his cybernetic alter ego Ramona, right?
Yes.
What the heck is that all about?
Yes, yeah. Well, it's the same idea again. Yeah, like again, he uses it in the context of embracing your virtual persona and all these personalities that you hide within you. The virtual world gives you a chance to embrace these sort of ideas that are taboo, but see, anything goes in the virtual world, you see, and that's the selling point. Like, you got all these people that like feel bad about themselves for whatever way that they think that society won't accept them or whatever. But whatever. The main thing is that anything goes in the virtual world. It's great. You can do anything. You can be anything. Why would you even want to be in the real world?
Yes. How about Second Life? That's one thing that's kind of initiating, if you will, the idea of the Matrix a little bit, a world where people go in and digitally play out their lives or whatever. Have you looked at that at all? What's your thoughts on it?
Yes. I used a clip there in the film that shows the Second Life. And yes, again, it's a harbinger of this virtual world that they're hoping to entice everybody with, because we can see the real world falling apart all around us as time goes on here. And as that happens, I predict we're going to be hearing a lot more about transhumanism and about all these concepts that we haven't heard about really at all yet. As we see more economic problems in the world, and just as things seem to get worse and worse, we're going to be hearing more and more about these technological alternatives that are going to be presented to us as escape, really. Escapism and addiction is what they're trying to get us with, because they know how powerful addiction is.
Do you think that the reality that that we're in right now, so to speak, is going to have to become so severe in order to get people more on board, so to speak, on this particular technology? If we either if we talk about Second Life, or in some way kind of uploading our consciousness to something else or whatever, that because again, if things are, as you say, if things are good for us in real life, then there's really no reason for us to move in that direction, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It sure would be a good way to motivate people into this sort of thing, because, as I said, a lot of people are standoffish about this now, but as things get worse and worse, and as implants become more and more accepted, as they say in these reports, they say they'll be more and more accepted over time, and as we're seeing the integration of ourselves with technology, at first you're wearing the technologies and it's helping out with everyday life, and then you end up just going into the technology itself and living there. It sounds like a good place to a lot of people. It's
a kind of
nice.
A kind of an exodus into a new kingdom, if you want to talk about it in those terms, that they might potentially offer it to us in those terms. And I can't help to start to think about this idea of getting people basically, because we can, I feel, tie this together with the idea of so-called overpopulation, that this small branch, this small elite, consider the planet to be too overpopulated, and one possible way here for them to solve this is to basically, store the human body away at some, small little facility somewhere, basically hooked up 24/7 to some kind of entertainment system where we basically are in. Do you think that is it possible that this could be one of their ways to solve what they consider to be an overpopulation issue?
Yeah, it's definitely tied in with the population reduction thing. And again, we're talking about eugenics and directing the breeding of humanity, being more sustainable, keeping the optimum amount of people on the planet. And we have the Georgia Guidestones, which I'm sure many of the listeners are familiar with. And it goes into, what is it, like 500 million people is the ideal population size that needs to be maintained throughout this age. Mm-hmm. And you look at the Georgia Guidestones, that's basically the 10 Commandments of the new age of Aquarius right there. Mm-hmm. There they are.
And so that's possibly what we're looking at here. Another kind of threat I know that the people that, for instance, at the Singularity Institute are talking about is this idea of an external intelligence, or basically an artificial intelligence, that an AI will come along, and basically the potential here is that if AI doesn't like us, it can possibly wipe us out. I know that Aubrey de Grey and even Ray Kurzweil are talking about these issues in a serious way and consider this to be a potential real threat. And that's an incredibly scary thought, that they're willing to go ahead with it, yet they don't know really how to control it yet, and for all we know, they could even have spawned a few of these already in some labs down somewhere in some, obscure black ops program. We don't know about that,
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's interesting. These guys do, over and over again, they do mention, like, look, these artificial intelligences are going to be created. We're going to have intelligent machines, and they are going to be better than humans. So why wouldn't these machines just get rid of humans? And yeah, the big name guys here are always saying that. And I know Hugo de Garis, he's the artificial intelligence brain builder guy. He's always talking about this. He says, yeah, machines are going to take over. And you can tell when he's saying this that he's actually pleased by this. Like, these guys feel that humanity is it's not good enough. You see, if we can create something that's better, then that thing deserves to destroy mankind. And by creating it, they are actually bringing about the destruction of the human race. And these guys are, it's bizarre when they talk about it, because you can see that they're kind of getting off on this whole idea of wiping out the entire human race. But in the process of doing it, they've, again, attained godhood. So they're laughing. They're laughing all the way to the ultimate destruction, and they love it. And it's a strange point of view that you have to understand that these guys have. They love creating this thing, no matter what. That there's no boundaries that any normal person would have here.
The question is if they're looking to kind of kill themselves in the process here, if they're so sick in that sense, so that they basically want to go, they're looking at, going down with the ship, so to speak, or do you think that they still have some kind of wet dream here of actually surviving themselves and living in a,